Hey guys, it's Coach Andre, your tennis mobility specialist, and these are Tempo Tennis Tips. Now, since I've begun making these videos, the most frequent question I get asked is, why do I believe that tennis biomechanics are flawed? Good question, and I think it's time for me to answer that. For the record, I don't believe it is flawed. I know as a fact that tennis technique is biomechanically wrong. For you to see what I see, I'm going to give you a quick history lesson, and let's go back to the beginning of tennis at its inception when it was played with the kings and queens. Now, tennis originated either in France or in England, depending on which historian that you listen to or follow. But it was primarily for kings and queens and their aristocratic friends. Now, when they played, they didn't put on sweats or shorts or rubber sole shoes. They played in their gowns and in their suits. Newsflash, tennis at its inception was an underhand sport. All of the strokes, serves, forehand, backhand, volleys, were all underhand by design. And if you take that into consideration, all of a sudden, the dimensions of the tennis court make sense. There were also a number of physical changes to the game. Rackets evolved, equipment, nets, all of these things evolved, yet the dimensions of the court never changed. Fast forward to the 1990s. With the advent of tennis academies, more specifically the Nick Bollettieri Tennis Academy in Bradenton, Florida, all of a sudden, tennis became ballistic. It became fast. You started hitting the balls hard. The training level increased, and you started seeing a level of athlete appear in the game that never existed before. This is the era of Sampras, Agassi, Graf, Seles. But the one thing that never changed were the dimensions of the court. And no one ever stopped to say, are the biomechanical capabilities of the body suited to the dimensions of the game? That was never asked. Now, as a consequence of the academies and the wave of tennis players that were coming into circulation as a result of these academies, because players were winning and winning money, breaking titles, no one stopped to question their techniques. And then, shortly after that, in the 2000s, when a lot of tennis academies started evolving, coaches started to copy what the star players were doing. And again, they never stopped to question as to whether the technique was correct or not. Now, as a mobility specialist, the one thing I pay very close attention to are the injuries. And once I started examining tennis over the past 20, 30, 40 years, the injuries were astounding. Tennis is a non-contact sport. The levels of injuries and the frequency of these injuries are a sign that something was wrong. In my studies, another fact became blaringly obvious was players who had similar technique all had the same injuries. Depending on what level they played at, depending on how frequently they played, determined how severe the injury itself was. But all the players with the same technique all had the same injuries. Now, that's not a coincidence. So what's our takeaway? Tennis, as a non-contact sport, should not be having the types and levels of injuries that we do. There's something that's wrong. Now, the two primary indicators of injuries are muscular imbalance and poor technique. Tennis players are usually well trained and well conditioned. Very little muscular imbalance. So the problem must be the technique. Well, that's it for today. If you have any questions or comments about today's topic, please don't hesitate to leave a message in the comment section. Also, if you find my tips helpful, please be sure to like, share, and follow. Tempo Tennis, every ball counts.